Welcome to the Pepshot After Party. Hello, everybody. We're clearly joined once again by the myth, the legend, the man himself, Pep MacDonald. Hello, Pep. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good, good. We're excited to have you back on.
I'm excited to be here.
It certainly was a joy and a privilege to relive your homebrew one shot with the final cuts over the past 2 weeks of releases, I suppose.
Yeah, it was. I'm impressed that you were able to slim it all down because I think it was 5 or 6 hours total, and you got it down to just about 4. So
Yeah. I think we had maybe a little longer than that recording because we had some technical issues at the end of like hour 4 or 3 or something. There's a part where like Elena's sound cut out; she couldn't hear anything or something. Like,
Oh, I could never hear the wizard pre-recorded stuff.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Oh, that's right.
Through my
so you got to
headphones.
actually hear it now.
I did hear it, but what I had to do was mute my own mic and listen to it so you guys didn't get the echo and all that. Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
So I couldn't talk over someone else talking. It was weird.
It was good.
It was
I quite
weird.
enjoyed putting them together, though. It was a lot of fun reliving. There were a lot of moments where I like cackled out loud. Well, that's a COL, not instead of an LOL.
I was definitely most impressed by the squishing part, the part with the room that was collapsing. You edited that together really well.
Good.
Yeah. I remember there was a moment where I think the recording said something like there was about 30 seconds left, and then there's probably about another like 3.5 or 4 minutes of like actions that happened.
Right.
So it's like so much for 30 seconds, but
Yeah,
it's really
well.
hard to do that when you're trying to like record.
True, and it's like your action doesn't take as long as you describe it does, too, right?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So where you can take, an hour and a half to play out 30 seconds of combat.
Oh yeah. Combat's so bad for that.
Yeah,
You have this
totally.
combat and they'll be like, "Oh, I think our party needs a rest. We just like fought for hours," and it's like that was 2 minutes.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was difficult when the room was squishing because in real time you're like, I'm not stopping the recording because that's how long it is. So we're like, how are we gonna do this? Leland had his work cut out for him
Yeah.
because we had to like talk and it was just.
I'm actually curious, Leland. I noticed a couple times where it felt like somebody was saying something that they didn't actually say in the one shot. Did you have to fill in anything, or was I just forgetting parts?
No, not at all, no.
Oh,
We don't do that.
whatever.
You just
I
weren't
mean, I
listening
do
to
it.
us.
I only do it 3 times an episode to make myself sound better. But for the rest of them, no. Those idiots sound as dumb as they normally do. So
Yeah, during Leland's exposition, if he stutters, I mean, he re-records
I
it.
have to
Yeah.
redo the whole. If it's 5 minutes and I stutter for once, I have to redo that whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Someone has to sound like they know what they're doing.
Should we break down our characters a little bit? Start
Yeah, I
with,
think that's a good idea. We could talk about our characters. I actually would like to get Pep's impression on our group, and our decision to play a party of 5 druids specifically.
Well, first, I am going to call out that Emma is watching us here on Twitch and said she just popped in because she wanted to say goodnight and for us to have fun. And I mostly wanted to call that out because Emma and a few others helped me test this before I played it with your group.
Yes, yeah, that was something that we wanted to touch on, absolutely.
Yeah, and so I really appreciated that. And they, unlike you, played a well-balanced breakfast.
That's awesome.
well, I also heard that they just darted through the room that shot arrows and fire at you. So they just
Yeah.
didn't figure out the puzzle. So
That's one
Which
way
is
to go about
fine.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that's always a solution. I've had that happen in D&D before where there's some sort of a puzzle and they said, we're just going to run through the hall and hope for the best. And they took the damage and they survived and we carried on. So,
Kenpo's character died, eh? He
Yes.
he died.
Oh, really?
yes, the ooze was not quite so friendly. So remember, John, what happened with you? Sorry, we're getting off topic, but do you remember how when you ran in and you ran into the ooze essentially and you kind of like broke out and went on your own way?
Yeah.
He wasn't so lucky. So he basically sat in the room alone and kind of like mostly died until people eventually came in to save him.
Wow.
And by the time they tried to save him, it was too late. And he was the cleric. So
Oh, no.
Ooh, there you go.
Oh.
so the mindless ooze was the smartest enemy the entire time and took the cleric out first. It was perfect.
Oh, Emma says she was the only one who survived. Just got stuck in the pit.
Oh no.
Oh, right. Yeah, the ooze was on top of it and she couldn't get out. I remember
Oh,
that.
no.
And that
That's the worst.
that was Jessica's first D&D experience
Oh.
ever.
Kempo
Yeah.
says he kept failing all his strength checks. Oh man, that's so brutal. I
That's
thought
so
we
awful.
handled that cube terribly. Man, we
Yeah.
were experts compared to this lot before us. We passed all their bodies, obviously, on the way through the dungeon.
They had a party of 3 as well, which was interesting. They,
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, they had a bit of a tougher time. To answer your question from way far back, though, the whole playing all druids was interesting because you approached me at first, and I don't remember exactly how it happened, but you said something about you want to do a one-shot, and then you said, but all of us want to play druids, so we want to know if that's okay. And I'm like, I guess so. As long as you all played the different circles so that it's a little bit unique and different, then I don't care. Because if you were all just like the default really good at transforming the animals druids, for example, it would be kind of boring. You'd probably all just be kind of doing the same thing. So
What,
Right, you would've
transform
had-
into animals? I don't think
you
any of
would've-
us remembered that.
Dude,
You would have had
we
5
like-
giant goats on your hand. Is
Yeah.
what would
yeah,
have happened.
just had a whole bunch of goats.
Oh, my. I had totally forgotten about that until I listened to them back, and I was dying listening to
Well,
Leland.
and then like Leland's like, we could turn into a spider. It's fine. We can get through a locked door.
Hydratia was very like, what do you? Come on, don't be stupid. Look, we're
Come on,
druids.
guys, we're my memory of the whole druid thing coming about was Leland was like, we should all play one class, and we were
Yeah.
like, okay. And then Leland said druids, and we just okay.
I think we were going to
Went
do
with it.
clerics first, right? I think we talked about
Oh,
doing the
boy,
whole
that
cleric
would've been-
party, and then we changed our mind. Yeah.
I probably would have said no to an all cleric party. That might be too much.
Oh, Pete.
What's that?
yeah.
What's that cantrip that lets you just give them advantage on a ability check or whatever? We just be like
Guidance.
Oh,
guidancing everybody,
Guidance
each other in
yeah,
a
yeah.
circle. Like, okay, guidance.
Less is
you,
a spell,
you.
guidance is a cantrip. Yeah.
especially if you're playing 5 people for what is essentially supposed to be a 4-player campaign or a 4-player
Right.
one-shot too. It'd
Yeah.
be really gross if you're all clerics constantly healing each other and buffing each other. Woo.
I mean, I as OP as a 5-party consisting of druids could be, the way we roleplayed together definitely put us at a handicap. So imagine how great the handicap would have been if we all were those great, or if we weren't druids.
I was a little thrown off at Hydratia was a bit abrasive to some of the party members, and it was
She
She's a
interesting.
bitch.
She
yeah.
was
I
the
think-
worst.
Hydration was great.
Yeah, I loved it.
I
She was
mean,
fantastic.
shit. By the end of it, she liked everybody. Man, this
It's true.
one shot got sexy. Holy!
It kind of did.
Yeah, a little
Do you
bit.
expect anything less with Leland playing?
No.
I mean-
As a group of druids, my favorite part was when we teleported and Pep said, I just want to remind you all that you left a fire burning in your camp.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, and then at the end, you teleported away, and then Leland's like, "We should go back for the animals," and it's like,
Oh,
"Back through what?" There's no.
I know.
Yeah.
I totally didn't clue into like the spatial relations of it all.
Yeah.
I was so disappointed when I could hear myself being disappointed when I realized that in the episode where you all had to explain it to me, like, no, you can't. Hello, you just walked through a portal.
So we recorded this like over 2 months ago, and there
Yeah.
were many funny parts I forgot. So
Oh, yeah.
So many.
Bill listening to the turtle talk, but then trying to eat a fish. Like,
Oh.
That was so good.
it was terrifying.
Yeah, it was awful, but
And I'm
also
glad Pep
hilarious.
didn't forget that he could hear all animals.
No, that kind of stuff happens to me all the time. Where I did forget basically until the last second. Like as soon as he like grabbed the fish or whatever, I kind of remembered, and I'm like, oh my god, this should be screaming. So I just
Didn't he say it was like a couple months away from retirement?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then the carrot just retired yesterday.
Yeah. Oh man,
So there was
that was brilliant.
So yeah, our characters, I don't know. I went into it thinking maybe we'd all get along because he had put us as knowing each other for a while and being a party for a while. But yeah,
True.
Hydratia was the worst.
I think we were at that part where like,
Pain
you
in
first
the
meet
booty.
up, everybody loves each other, and then you start discovering everybody's little annoyances.
Yeah.
We were
We
on
start to get on each
vacation
other's
together
nerves, and you're
for
like,
a little
okay,
too
I
long.
need a break from you all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't understand what you mean at all. I love you guys so much.
I imagine it too as you're all druids, so you're probably used to a lot of being out in nature and being out in the open. So all 5 of you kind of crammed into like a 20 by 20 room over and over. I feel like you probably got a little more up close and personal to each other than you wanted. Maybe
True.
Hydration started
Yeah.
to realize how some of you smelled and just not having it
Yeah.
anymore.
I mean, usually she smells as sweet as the flowing ocean.
Salty.
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 Salty is what you're saying. Yeah,
So
exactly.
savage.
That's a good description of
Actually,
hydration.
one of my favorite lines was Bill's, the very, very end, where it's like, while she quenches my thirst, she still leaves me thirsty.
Thirsty. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
She
yeah.
satiates
I had
me.
totally forgotten about that line
That
as
was so
well
good.
until I re-listened to it.
And then you're like, I like what you've done with the landscaping.
Oh,
man.
man.
Yeah.
Tricia had
It's,
quite a
yeah.
few proverbs or sayings.
Yeah, were those
did.
on the spot, Leland, or had you thought of some of them before?
I think that actually was a question that we had from Brett, wasn't it?
Oh,
Yeah,
my
Brett
bad.
asked.
I
Yeah.
did right before we played. I was like, oh, wait a second. I should have maybe some weird things to say. And I did have some pre-written. So, no, I definitely did not come up with those on the spot.
I was wondering, some of
prepared.
they sounded so wise, and I like because it's like water flows best when love is involved or whatever. I can't think of what they were.
Well, the
They just-
erosion one, it was like, water always finds a way.
She's such a fucking tight ass.
You can live for a week without food, but only days without love. Getting all 27 hours up in here.
She's like,
Oh.
she kind of, I guess I was playing her like almost like she was like some type of aristocrat. Like she was really stuck up. Like mostly is really what I was.
Yeah.
But then as soon as like she's out of like the public eye, doesn't have to be the face for her family. She, can maybe get a little kinky, I guess. Turn into a giant goat.
Yeah.
Have some people ride around on her.
Understatement of the year.
No
Yeah,
kink
when you have to
shaming.
be proper all the time, and you got to cut loose, right?
That's right. Finally, we get out of the wild and into a dungeon. Woo, boy.
That
I
party
mean,
started.
Pyra asked if she needed to take her clothes off. She was willing.
True.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, nope, no, you're good, Pyra. You're
And
good.
Delano was like,
Well, you know what?
think Pyra's voice is the reason. The picture you have in your head when
I
you
can
hear
take
Pyra.
my clothes off,
All
baby.
right.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Hydracia's.
Get dirty.
Oh man, Hydracia's convinced that she got the party through that dungeon by removing clothes. She heeded the advice that was written on the ground from the wizard, and she saved the party using her body.
Logical conclusion.
I do love that that you didn't clue in that each part was for each door right away.
Ah,
So you
yeah.
kind of like you heeded
thought
all
it
the
was all
advice
of them.
simultaneously. Like, okay, I got to go into this room naked while holding meat, and I have to be fast. And I can't keep my eyes open.
We're not used to puzzles, okay? Leland tells us everything up front. We never have to figure anything.
Well, that's something I kind of wanted to mention too. Is this was weird. I've DM'd quite a bit, but I've never DM'd for something like a podcast. So I remember in the first puzzle, we got about halfway through, and I think the line ended up in the actual podcast, where it's like such quality podcast content when they're like, I'll step
Yes.
onto the blue square, I'll step onto the
Yes.
purple square. And it was just that for
Yeah.
like 3 minutes straight. And it's so like puzzles are fun, but yeah, maybe it's something that doesn't translate as well into podcast content. Or at the very least, maybe it's something that as a DM, you might need to be a little bit more descriptive and have more more word-based puzzles or more description involved in the puzzles?
I think what you did was fine. I think when we got to the point where, like you said, okay, unless you do something really stupid, I'm just going to move it along, right?
Yeah,
so I think once
yeah.
you get past that key point of the puzzle and everybody's like, oh, that's cool, I get it now. Yeah, then just move along.
You just kind of hand wave some of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and Emily like figuring out the potions by herself in her own head, that was cool.
Yeah.
Actually, I wanted to ask, did that happen on mic or did you record that in post, Emily?
I recorded it in post.
Oh, okay.
You lied to me, Leland.
She's an
that's right.
actress.
That was the only thing. Yeah.
It sounded really
Shoot,
good.
I did completely lie to your face. Thanks, Emily, for. Oh my god. Obviously, that's what you were referring to then.
It was, yeah, because
Okay.
I do remember Emily talked a little bit about doing it, but I don't remember being quite that in depth. And so, like, while you were resting, Emily had the little breaks where she was doing the potion speech, and I'm like, I don't remember it quite like that. So,
Yeah.
Yes,
I
my
recorded
that
apologies.
like
I
that sometimes.
completely just lied to your face. Yeah, because actually, like a lot of the actual figuring out, we had some discussion off mic in between. You know, as we were recording, we taking a break. And
Yeah.
sorting out technical difficulties, and
Yeah.
then Emily recorded it for me, and I was able to slice it up and kind of, again, similar to, I hope it sounded like it was very clear that it was kind of almost like cutting back to Kaista on the bench,
We don't.
like looking through these potions. Yeah. Nobody knows. I mean,
we just start getting into the names. Also, Super McDad wanted a shout out. What up? What up, Doe?
I think actually what he said is he'd be all right if he never heard Pyra's voice and the goat again.
He also
David
said
T
Leland was a
loves
pain
it.
in the ass, and I don't know what he means by was.
Was, is, will continue to be.
Shots fired.
this feels like continual
Shots
character
fired.
assassination. Every time we get on mic with a lot of you.
so if you're new
Actually,
to the Incorrigible
really-
podcast, they really enjoy ribbing on each other.
Yes.
It
How we
does come
show
naturally, yeah.
How we
It's
show our
how we-
affection.
It's our love language. I really enjoyed playing a different character voice, though. I need to do an. Is
I
this
liked your
what I
voice.
got? I don't know.
I
Where's-
really
where-
liked your voice.
What's your inspiration for your voice?
An old smoker lady from the
Yeah.
Jersey Shore. I don't.
Somebody you know?
It's my
No.
mom.
Is it?
No, that's not
I
what
don't,
she sounds
I don't really know. I don't know. At first, it was kind of like Ursula, and then it changed because when we created characters for this, I had Jessica help me make my character and Bill's character because she had never played before and she wanted to see how to create a character. And then she did her own for when she previewed the Pepshot. I think she was a ranger.
Ranger, yeah. There's
Yeah,
a
I don't
ranger,
remember.
cleric, and a rogue, I believe.
Yeah. Or was Emma a bard? I don't know. What does
Maybe
Emma
a-
usually do?
Maybe a bard.
She was a rogue.
I did. I did run it with another group, kind of locally as well, and they had a bit of an easier time. They were very experienced D&D players, though. So one of them basically
Yeah.
breezed through every puzzle like it was silly putty.
Now, would
Oh.
their character have been able to breeze through puzzles like that? Or
I
was
know,
it-
and that's always the interesting thing with stuff like D&D. It's like sometimes the person with the least wisdom or intelligence will be the one who solves the puzzle, and it's like,
right,
are you solving the puzzle, or is your character
Yeah.
solving the puzzle?
right. I mean, I like
That's
that.
hard.
I like that a lot of times. Like Pyro was like, you know what, you youngins got it. Like
Oh,
literally,
yeah,
like,
I said-
it's just like
Figure out
All right,
your
well,
arithmetic.
tap me on the shoulder when it's done. We'll keep going. It's like-
Kenpo thinks that Pyra's voice came from Joey Tribbiani's agent.
oh,
That's exactly
Oh.
Just
right.
like chain
pretty
smoking.
good.
Yeah.
Good
There
call.
you go.
The
Good job, Joey. What else do you?
Pyra backing out of not doing the puzzles was funny too, because I remember later, I don't remember why we needed to find out what people's intelligence was, but everyone's like, oh, 10, 10, 11, and then Elena's like, oh, mine's 16. Like, why were you solving the puzzles?
I rolled really well. I don't know. My character was pretty good. I like Pyra a lot. I would love to play her again. I
Yeah,
like all my
Pyra's
little
cool.
one-shot characters so far. Pam.
You tend to have really good luck when it comes to rolling up characters.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
stats are always really good.
Mia is pretty intense. But yeah, I don't know.
I think Super McDad is throwing more shots here, Elena. He
It's
says
hard,
it's hard to
roleplay
roleplay.
being more intelligent or wise than you actually are. I thought I was your favorite.
His favorite's continual rotation.
Also, Tom Posh says he just found this podcast and there's only 143 episodes to catch up with.
That's right.
Only.
Well, Tom, you may be able to skip some of the after parties. I don't know. Unless you do enjoy. I mean, we've always said the after parties. The after parties are exactly Elena, like to know us, the players.
Yeah.
Whereas obviously the show is more the characters. I also do occasionally reveal some things that the party may or may have missed when they were playing.
May have missed.
We also may occasionally get to the part of the after party where we give the DM ideas from the things that we have.
True.
Yeah, we talk about our theories, which he then scribbles down on pieces of paper and comes up with more devious plans.
What percentage of the story is actually came up with it and the after parties, Leland?
Yeah, at least, roll me a D100, John.
I'm used to that.
Oh, man. So the comment from David Dave was not aimed at me. It was a general comment, you guys.
Oh,
you just got to play your character. That is difficult.
It is, and it's funny because intelligence is something that always comes up with that, but someone who wants to play a fighter doesn't have to be someone who could lift a boulder over their head, even if their character could be. So it is always kind of strange when someone has like high intelligence and you just expect them to do all the puzzle solving. But in reality, I should be privately, like, for example, Elena, if your character was actually much more intelligent than the rest of the party, I should just be sending you little hints that they aren't getting.
Yeah.
That's
how it should work.
That would be interesting.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, it's almost like their
idea.
stats are hitting this DC, this that you have that the DM has, kind of thing. Yeah, that's a
also Pep. Thank you. I know my next character. It's going to be a fighter that does CrossFit, but can't lift very heavy things.
Just lots of things really quickly.
Yeah.
Just say that.
And how often does your character like to tell people that he or she does CrossFit?
I talk about doing CrossFit 5 times, 10 times a day, but I do it like 1 time a week.
That's awesome. That's my kind of CrossFit.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing about good backstories, right? You got to have all that. Like when we first started out introducing our characters. Leland said, briefly tell us about your character. So I did.
Delano had a paragraph.
When I listened back to it, it was only 2 minutes. That was a very short description.
It's not brief if you have to lick your thumb and flip the page.
John, for every character he does, has a very extensive backstory.
Well, you got to know how your character is gonna be, and now what they're gonna do, how they're gonna react, right? You get that emotion that you get to play off of. It doesn't matter if nobody else pays attention to your backstory. It's really for me.
You guys didn't even get to hear about my best friend that died in a prison and the revenge that I was seeking again. It's like,
oh my goodness.
But nobody's backstory is I grew up, my parents were together, they lived a happy life, everything was great. It was always the orcs came in and killed my parents, or everybody has a tragic story. I'm just going to make somebody a character someday that everything's just perfect. He didn't have no problems. Everything's great.
It's not a Disney movie if the mom or dad doesn't die at the beginning.
Takara has a happy childhood. All her parents are still alive and family.
Yeah.
Waiting
Same
back
all
at
her parents.
Look what's happened to her. Look what road she started walking down.
I think, if you're going to be on one end of the spectrum or the other, it's a lot better to be on the end where you invest a ton of time into your backstory rather than someone who comes with little to no preparation.
Yeah.
Even if that backstory, doesn't get completely
touched on.
Yeah.
Even if like your character prematurely dies or something and you don't.
Right.
That's always like the tragedy of RPGs, right?
Right.
You could just die, and all this work you put into it could be for naught.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Could happen.
And it's
Tom
all
Posh-
your fault.
Yeah, it's all the DM's fault. Tom Posh says he tends to play quite aloof characters as he's still pretty inexperienced, but it gives him a bit of get out of jail card when it comes to the dialogue a bit.
That's fair.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that what you do, Bill?
Pardon? I didn't hear what you said.
I said, is that what Bill does?
Yeah, for sure.
I'm just kidding. You
In
didn't
my
really Booch, okay? That was like
No,
your
yeah,
Booch
Booch is
role
great.
play.
Booch, everyone.
Booch was your best role play, I
Booch
think.
was awesome.
Like, you were
I had really good inspiration to draw from for him because he's based off a real person. So I
Right,
think
well,
that
I
helped a
mean,
lot.
That's a key tip that you'll find in a lot of tips on making a character, like base them around
Steal.
an already steal character, exactly.
Oh,
Steal character.
my CrossFit character will be based off Leland Steele.
Oh, that's a good last name for someone who does CrossFit, for sure.
That is, yeah.
It's funny too. After playing with Booch as a character, it inspired me that I want to make a drunken monk Tortle, who like brews his own beer in his shell. Like he has his own little keg that he brews.
Yeah.
I think that'd be
That's
fun.
sweet.
Plus, I
Well-
like the idea of a monk who's like, you're supposed to be dexterous, but you're actually this like big lumbering
Lumbering,
turtle that
yeah.
sloshes around.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny. Booch inspired my character and my get together group, like my real life group that recently started up.
IRL.
The group
It's
that you
meeting
cheat on
again.
us with.
Booch.
Your side
Well,
piece.
I'm a player, so I'm not DMing it. So, but
you are
to,
quite
to,
the player.
to 2 points to Tom's point about his aloof characters. Often with that group, it's full of like role players. They love role playing. They're all veterans. They've been playing for upwards of 2 decades for some of them, and I also like to role play. But we also have a group of like 7 people when everyone's there. So, in that specific group, I always take a back seat on the role play and the table talk. I mean, in that group, I'm known for just my characters dropping funny one-liners, and that's basically all the dialogue that my character has. So I'm always having fun, and everyone's always having fun anyways. But like, it's totally fine for me to take. I like taking the step back because I like watching them role play. I don't know if that is also comes from how I enjoy watching my players role play when I'm running the game. I don't know if that has something to do with that, but my character in that campaign was, again, inspired by Booch. Although he's not a turtle, he's a dragonborn that was raised by turtles and thinks he's a turtle.
Oh.
So he introduces himself as a turtle. Everyone gives him a kind of cockeyed look. It's like, wait, you're a dragonborn. It's like, no, I get that a lot, but I'm a turtle. As he speaks very slowly.
Oh, that's a good voice.
To be honest, Leland.
I made him as a defender too, so he doesn't have a shell, but he has a shield on his back that's painted like a shell, and his armor, he's rigged it up with a block and tackle where he can just pull on it and it lifts up, so he goes into a shell when he takes the dodge action, because he never attacks, he always takes the dodge action. Runs up
That's
to try to take
hilarious.
hits. So yeah, inspired directly by Booch for sure. Booch
Cool.
is a great character.
Wow.
Yeah.
Turtles are pretty cool.
Turtles are
Booch
cool, yeah.
Booch is inspired by a real person who's on YouTube. The Bon Appetit YouTube channel has a guy,
Brad.
Brad Leone. Yeah. I love him. He's hilarious. But he loves fermentation, and so that's why I had the spore babies. And he's just very chill and easygoing, always happy. So that's kind of where I got inspiration for Booch. And Booch, obviously, coming from kombucha.
Right.
If anyone didn't put that
We
together.
almost called you Miso when we
Yeah, miso. That'd be another
you
good
were
one.
Bill, how did you
Bill's
come up with the
character.
whole shell and spores and so on? Is that a common druid thing? Can you all hear the thunder and lightning going on outside your
Yeah.
house?
Every time
Little
we
bit.
twitch.
I thought you got a cat.
It's storm.
As long
The
as the
infinite
power doesn't go out.
storm.
Yeah, really.
Oh, Mia.
Someone must have broke the gem.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I don't. The type of druid I was Circle of Spores. So that sort of influenced it a little bit, but I don't think the whole shell and
Well,
spore baby
okay.
thing
So
is.
Bill ran out of time making his character, so Jessica.
Shh.
So I will speak as the person making the character. And Jessica's just popping in. Hey, Jess. I'm talking about when we made Bill's character.
That didn't happen. That didn't happen.
So Brad Leone is known for like it's his TV show on YouTube is called It's Alive because he does stuff where it's alive, like fermenting, aging, that type of things, yeast, like stuff that's alive. So Circle of Spores fit well. And then he has a fermentation station in the kitchen that he works in where it's like all these bottles of kombucha and like cured egg yolks and dried jerky and whatever, right? So it just made sense to turn your shell into
That's
like
sweet,
your
sweet
little...
booch jerky. Oh,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
goes down smooth.
He makes miso, so like miso was one of the name options, but we honestly thought everyone would say miso horny like every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
It would have happened.
Goodness, I
That's
dodged that
funny. I
bullet.
mean, I did not even when you said miso the first time, I did not think of that.
Oh, yes.
Miso horny. Okay,
We
so
would never
Please don't.
take something and beat it
Please
into
don't.
the ground.
I was
and
pretty
then
close to
revive
calling I was pretty close to calling you DiGiorno a few times just because.
Ooh, I
Sure,
would like
no?
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Delano,
Think
DiGiorno.
of how sexy the one shot could have been right from the beginning if we had miso instead of booch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
A
true.
few people have asked now, Pep, what are you drinking? Can we
Yes, can we-
discuss what's in the jug,
What's that juice?
the decanter?
I generally don't have a lot of things around the house to drink, but I don't just want to drink water usually. So I made tea essentially, and I added sugar, maple syrup, and vanilla extract. Yeah, and I put some ice in it, so it's kind of like iced tea, and it's actually not too bad. It grew on me, kind of like spores.
Like the spore babies.
Just like spore babies growing on your shell. It looks good.
Although it is a little harder to drink out of a decanter than I thought it would be.
Yeah,
Well,
I was
you're-
gonna say.
I hope no one noticed, but at one point I went to drink and it just spilled all down my. Luckily, I had the beard, caught most of it. If I didn't have the beard, it would have just been like.
That's when you just turn your webcam settings from 1080 to 480. No one can tell.
No one will,
So you,
no one will see it.
you don't pick up the beard soak. That's right.
You
Yeah.
always change your
Beards are-
settings for the video. So you got your turtles, but like why do you have to have the scary guy?
Oh, him.
Okay.
He's
my
always
punch,
there.
He's my punching buddy. He's
He-
there.
He
He's hard
does
to move,
CrossFit.
so-
That's for damn
He does
sure.
CrossFit, yeah.
Look at him.
Yeah,
He's chiseled.
he does.
Chisel,
he does
yeah.
CrossFit, yeah. But yeah, like Booch was definitely my favorite character, and I'm sure there's no particular reason why Booch would have been my favorite character.
That was definitely a tactical decision.
Yeah. Somebody playing up to the
Be a
DM for
turtle.
sure.
Easiest way to survive. Make sure I don't kill you that way.
Yeah, it's just pick something you know the DM's gonna love.
Yeah.
But
That's not
the
what I
the
think.
DM will still kill some of your precious spore babies, no matter
That
how
hurt.
much he likes your character.
That hurt me on a deep level. Those
So
poor
can
spore
you
babies.
explain that instance, Pat? Because when we were playing, I know for a fact that during play we didn't know what happened.
No,
And-
it's true.
In the final cut, it's funny because like you actually explained it to us at a part off mic, and listening to it when Bill was like, no, let's just go with they're just a little burnt.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, one of them at least had to be gone because otherwise he wouldn't have got out of that cube. Like none of us picked up
No
on
one,
that.
yeah,
during
no one
play.
picked on. Everyone just kept talking.
So will you explain to us what happened in case the listener also was like, how did that happen?
Yeah, so the wizard, if he is a wizard, the mushrooms that he made, anytime you eat them, I basically just rolled on the table for the chaos sorcerers. So that's why the effects that were happening were so strange. Because Elena turned into a potted plant, and then Bill's spores started singing, and then Elena went for a little flying trip. And so what happened was he sat in there for so long, and he's taken so much damage, and I just thought to myself, oh, these spores are definitely dying. And then it kicked in that, wait, he planted some of those mushrooms on the back. And I'm like, well, if it actually ate through one of the mushrooms, it's going to have to suffer the effects. And I rolled, and
Oh.
I don't think I have the book right next to me. I don't remember exactly which one I rolled, but it was something. I'm gonna see if I can find it. But I rolled something that made it essentially become incapacitated.
I did not catch that. Wow.
I didn't either.
Yeah, I was kind of
No
surprised people
comment.
didn't question it more because it's like, oh, the enemy just died in front of us. Like,
It just died. Oh, I'm good. It's dead. Let's go on.
Yeah.
Again.
Don't ask questions. Just move on.
No,
I
we don't question
reckon-
things.
Pyra's intelligence. I mean, there was also this.
Pyra knew the whole time. She doesn't tell anybody. Like,
She
No,
didn't
it's
say
like, and Pyra's like, guys, it's definitely the light appears when I'm by the door.
Seen this before.
yes, that was the other thing. None of us had any idea what was happening.
I'm a freaking idiot, but I'm the smartest. So you can only play to your own strengths there.
Well, okay. Here's something you might have gotten correctly. So, Pep, this magical darkness, would it dispel any effect you had going on? So when you entered the room, you were fresh, kind of thing. Is that what the idea behind it was?
no, it was so specific. It was just a continual.
No.
It was like a continual darkness spell. But darkness specifically snuffs out any spells that create light. And every time someone walked in, you had something that created light,
That
like
made
the
My
light.
sword.
Sword and-
Ugh.
Yeah.
And so I made a DM call there. I'm like, I'm not sure if it would actually turn the spell off or if it would just extinguish the light portion of the spell. So I'm like, I think it would actually take the spell out. So I just went with it.
Yeah, I
But
think
yeah,
that's
there was
cool.
no other. Because if you think about it, your bark skin didn't come off.
I was just gonna bring that up. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good
I'm
old
just
Mark
noticing that Emily had her name crossed out on the screen from Kaista to Kaitza.
So, how do you say your character's name, Emily?
Please enlighten us all.
Because it was,
Please don't do
variations of it have been passed down through eons of time.
Yeah.
And now that it has reached us, the true meaning has simply been lost. So please, can you enlighten us?
And can you just
Kaista.
choose an easier?
It was Kaista. Kaista.
Just choose a better name next.
Because the
Shikara
Z
is not easy.
before the T, not after.
Was, yeah.
Right.
Was.
It was.
But then,
Oh,
Just gave
Okay.
up partway
Yes.
through.
so who was it then that said it's kite za? Like
Leland.
Bill.
uh,
It
Was
was
it?
Bill.
Bill, I
Bill
think.
said, no, it's kite za. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, fine, whatever.
And that's what I wrote
Kite
down.
za. I don't know what it is
I
anymore.
write down all your character names phonetically so I can try to say
I do.
them right.
I do too. I've started doing that. Like I don't bother to write it down how it's spelled. I write it down how
Right.
it sounds. It's way
That's-
easier.
Yeah. Well, you know
Yeah.
what, though? I bet you none of those goblins that Kaista grew up with could pronounce her name either.
Kaista. Well,
Yeah, she was probably used to it. I mean, like being named Pep, I have that problem all the time where like I'll say like, oh, my name's Pep, and they're like Pat, and I'm just like, sure, whatever.
Really? You just go with it? So
Oh,
there's
I
people...
accept it.
Oh.
I mean,
I don't want to fight every human
You
being. I
did.
want.
Peppy, you did exactly
Good
what
call.
I get all the time, which is Elena, and it's like I just whatever.
Yeah.
I think I worked at the current place I work for like 3 years before people were like, "Is it Alana or Elena?" And I was like, "It's Elena." They're like, why aren't you correcting us?" I'm like, God. Because I mean,
Yeah, after
They'll
a
say
few
it
times,
wrong
it's like
the next
what's
day,
the point?
even after you correct them.
Yeah.
what's the point? What's the point?
And then your name's Bile. Is it Bile?
Yes, but
Bile.
I also usually just give up on correcting people.
This is why.
Probably a
I
good
call
call.
him, that's why I call him William. Bill is just far too hard to remember.
Land.
Lalande.
Lalande.
Lalonde.
Yeah.
My last name, and I could count on one hand the number of times someone has pronounced it correctly without
Yeah,
me.
so thanks for giving me an easy last name. Frick. So
Sorry.
now I'm Alana with a.
I
Always get the T and the Y backwards.
yeah, so I just don't. Doesn't bother me if people don't pronounce it correctly. That's fine.
Oh man.
I don't like mispronouncing people's name though, so I remember when we did, because we had kind of a pre-one shot where I said your name wrong, Elena, because we hadn't talked in a while, and it like slipped away.
It's all good.
And you corrected me, so I wrote it down. I wrote it down phonetically on my notes, and then I lost the notes, and then I just kept.
I'm
Right before
surprised you're saying it really well now, so it's all good.
Well, I remember now. Well, just because once I remember the lay part, it has lay in it. It's like Lena, and then
Yeah.
Yes.
Just stuck.
Yes.
Just imagine there's a Y before the N.
Sounds like PTSD from school teachers messing up, says Ken. And that is so true. Ken, you have no idea. I grew up, his name is Ken. It's not Ken though, right? It's Ivan?
It is Ivan, yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. Anyway, I grew up since first grade with an Alana, same exact spelling.
Oh man.
I was Alana L my whole school life. It was,
Your parents didn't do you any favors.
Yeah, right. For the first year of the podcast, I called you Alanina Nana. And it was really embarrassing.
I didn't correct you either, but
no, nobody corrected me. That was the embarrassing part.
It's fine. It's fine. My name's Mia.
I find it interesting that, like, we really talk about the kitesy thing, but I still don't know exactly how John's character is pronounced. Delano?
Delano.
Delano Roosevelt.
Listening back, I heard it so many. I said it, I think, 3 or 4 different ways as I was talking to you, and the same thing. You didn't correct me, so
it's not from the president. It actually is it means of the forest, I think, in French or something. I don't remember what it was. I wanted to look up something that sort of went with the Druid background, right?
Right. That's
so
good.
Delano, and I went, whatever.
That's funny.
I mean, I don't speak French, so maybe I'm saying it wrong.
Could be.
It's all French to me.
Well, you would think hydratia should be hard to remember too, but for some reason hydratia
hydratia.
Yeah, I messed that one up several
Druid,
times.
plants, water, I don't know. No wonder she hates you.
Yeah, being together for
Only
a year.
Delano says her damn name, right?
Yeah.
I think all my one-shot characters now have to have a P for their first name. Tyra, Pam.
Oh boy.
Yes.
You guys, any patrons?
Well, there was
It's not for the
speaking of their characters, like Delano often sounded like Shaft, and Hydratia often sounded like Isabella Good.
I thought Delano sounded more like
Delano sounded
Drudge.
like, yes,
Delano and Drudge. Yeah.
No, Drudge was
Drudge.
Bill's character.
But Drudge was Bill's. I think I had.
Oh no.
I had Killian.
What was your
right?
name?
Was it
Killian.
No.
it was,
You were McRibs. McRibs.
McRibs.
Yeah,
McRibs.
you're right. He did sound
Yes.
like McRibs
and it was because it
from
was
the Clockwork one shot. Yeah.
Yeah, that dark, quiet. It didn't say much, but it has
Right.
a deep voice.
And for those that haven't listened, that was the one shot that Emily ran for us, which we are soon to revisit those characters. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
Be fun.
Also, that's why it was so cool that More Games Please was talking about his mom's name being
His mom's
Pam.
birthday, Pam. His mom's name is Pam.
I was
yeah.
like, yes, Pam.
Yeah, it's cool.
Such a mom name. I was going for.
Well, I mean, we made it through your puzzles fairly unscathed, I guess. Although in that very first room, Delano took some massive poison damage getting those parchment,
Yes.
which we then didn't use.
Talk about not doing something stupid to get us all killed, and then he goes and gets the parchments and triggers 2 traps doing that.
He did try to use that parchment though, and we didn't know because he was on Whisper with Pep.
True, that's right.
Oh yeah.
He did. Delano did attempt, but
don't come in here or whatever.
But of course it was like in Pyro's pocket or whatever, right?
Yeah, so you would have had to have thought, and I could have made it so the paper vibrated. That would have been funny, but
I like that. Yeah.
She checks it, and it's like, oh, phantom vibrate.
So why 2 scrolls, 1 pen, right? But 1 quill. No.
I don't know if you were going for that joke or not. But
It was unintentional, but I realized what I said right when Emily started really laughing. No, that wasn't what I was going for.
Wait,
why not a quill? Let me restate that. Here,
wait, Emily didn't stop laughing.
Cut that out in post.
Cut that out.
We're live, John.
I know. So why not 2 quills, Pep?
Asking the real questions.
well, I did point out to you that you could essentially use anything. You were a monkey at the time, so you could have just wrote in your own poop if you wanted.
Well, that's right. Well,
You see a pile of shit flying through the darkness with a little message scrolling it. Keep
He just
out.
reaches around.
that's how you send a strong message.
In hindsight, I don't even know. I should have questioned more that how you were writing so competently while you were in an ape form.
Yeah.
Like, I guess you still have the proper opposable thumbs and whatnot, but it'd be pretty messy at the very least.
Stick your thumb up. Okay. All right.
I think we had
Well,
some pretty decent uses of our beast shape, though.
Oh yeah.
I mean, most of us used it. I don't think Kaista
I did
used
not.
it, did she?
No, I didn't.
No.
I would have been able to summon my lava monster, but I never.
I wrote in my
Yeah.
notes, I think we broke Pep at one point because he's like, yeah, whatever, I don't care.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
It's the funny part of listening to it in separate episodes like that, because I did notice, especially in the last episode, that I very much had that like whatever, because it was late at night and I had to like rush some things a little bit. So whenever you did something, like sure,
Sure,
like,
sure, it works.
fine.
Yeah, whatever.
Well, yeah, I mean, it took us longer to deal with the cube room than it did with the other 3 rooms.
Right. Yeah, the hallway. I think when we got there and Pep said, hey, there's some blocks that are missing, right? And we were like, who cares? Not very interested in looking in those holes. What's the point? I think her hydration and Delano went all the way down.
Yeah.
Drained you.
Yeah, you didn't care.
Personally, I love that. Anytime I can as a character when I'm playing, I'll try to do the same thing. If it's not something my character would be interested in,
Right.
I don't feign interest because the DM is being like, "Here's the thing." It's like,
Yeah.
no, I'm.
Yeah.
Why would I be interested? I'll go and wait unless someone asks for my help, because yeah.
If it's
puzzles.
really important, you'll come up with some reason why we have to do it,
Yeah.
right?
But that wasn't important. I mean, it sort of was. That was kind of how you're supposed to get past the zombies, but whatever.
Hmm.
The idea was that you would poison yourself, so you're not healthy meat anymore, and then the zombies would ignore you. But
Oh yes, you told us that. I think.
yeah,
Well, and John
After-
after the fact too had the idea, we could have maybe thrown the meat-smelling potions to try to lure
Right.
Yeah.
zombies with that as well. Yeah.
Yes.
I think we just completely forgot about them, honestly.
Yes,
it
we
happens.
The idea was to poison yourself when you go into that room, and then use the health
did.
potion
Yeah,
afterwards,
come
right?
back, Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's smart. That's smarter than anything I'd
Interessante.
figure out. I'm sure.
We typically don't use things that we find in campaigns to our advantage.
Well, that's
We
true.
may not even write them down most of the
We
time.
also don't have to role play that we don't care about what Leland tells us. We just don't.
You just don't.
We get really excited when we find things, and then
Wow.
promptly forget about them.
No, I'm just saying, like, even if Leland was trying to hint at us, we don't pick it up what he's laying down.
No, that's why I need to inject NPCs that travel with you that can then reiterate
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
and bring them
Exactly.
back around.
Bada
Hey,
bing, bada
this was
bing.
important. Pay attention to it now.
I noticed this. Did you?
Pay no
you
mind to
mention
him.
it.
He's crazy.
I've actively started asking NPCs for their opinion and strategy
Yeah.
tips in our main campaign. Throw us a bone here, man. Come on.
I do that a lot too, and every once in a while, whoever's DMing will just be like, "The NPC it can't solve all the problems for you."
But why?
And I'll always
not?
be like, "What's your opinion on the situation that's going on?" And the DM's just like,
Oh, man,
Oh,
it's too
man.
funny.
So, Pep, do you think? I mean, there were a few things that we didn't get to in this one shot. But do you think, and we could discuss them if you want to go over them, but do you think that even listening to the one shot, that maybe if a group was interested and maybe want you to run it for them, that they would still have a good time going through it, even though they've heard everything? Because that's kind
a
of
good
a weird
question.
thing with puzzle. It was less of like a traditional dungeon crawl, but like we were doing a dungeon crawl, right? Like kind of thing.
"Yeah."
What do you
It's
think
hard.
of that?
Things like that involve puzzles, especially what someone might call like a solved puzzle, because sometimes you have situations where you get through, but it looks like there might have been different solutions. And the puzzles at the end, the 4, were kind of like that. There's different ways you could have like done everything really. But yeah, I don't know. It's if someone were to have already listened, I feel like you wouldn't get much out of playing the campaign. Because you'd go in with so much pre-knowledge about how everything is, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, but
I
I mean,
worry about that with even like the ones that Wizards themselves designs, like the pre-made adventures. Like if
Yeah.
you were to read the book, I feel like you couldn't play it as a character, and you'd have to sit in the background the whole time. Like if everyone else hadn't read it, you would have to be like the wise old fighter who's just kind of doesn't get involved and only answer questions if you have to, kind of thing.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting that you say that actually because my group with my Dragonborn turtle, they're playing through. We're playing through because it's a break from our main campaign. Because once everyone was self isolating, all that stuff, we hadn't played for a few months, and not everybody was comfortable to come back when we started playing again. So we're doing like this interim campaign, and we're running through Dragon Heist, and
Okay.
Emma is playing on the No Pun Included stream on Saturdays at 12 PDT. They're playing through Dragon Heist, in which, of course, I'm watching. So I'm actually, I mean, like I say, in that group, I take a backseat anyways. But I'm having a good time seeing, like, one, how our dungeon master, who has actually never run a pre-made adventure before, is changing things compared to where Emma's group is going, where the No Pun Included group is going. And so I find that really interesting and cool. And obviously I'm not, when we, that group is very much, has very much Incorrigible party tendencies, which are, I think, tendencies that a lot of play groups have, where sometimes for 2 hours you get fuck all done. And so we're obviously progressing through the pre-written campaign at different paces than the No Pun Included crowd is. And so it's interesting for me, like sometimes we're ahead and then I watch their stream and then they get ahead and then we play and we don't get anywhere near to where they finished on their last so and I'm not spoiling anything for Emma at all, but I'm getting a lot of enjoyment out of like seeing the differences in one, how these two exact games are being run, and I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything, but I don't know, maybe that's just me. I think though and it is a different situation, right? Obviously, because your one shot isn't meant to run players from level 1 to 5. Like
no, it's supposed to be an evening kind of thing.
Exactly, right? Like the specific pre-written campaign is. So there are less branching pathway opportunities in a one shot like yours kind of thing.
There definitely was a little bit of branching though, because like I did run it for technically 3 groups, including you.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were a couple of key differences. One was the interaction with the turtle. Each group kind of did their own thing with the turtle. You kind of interacted and had like a nice day with him and then left him behind, which baffled me because when the first group with Emma and the rest of them, they like embraced the turtle a little bit more and actually like started like trying to talk to him and pull him out of the room and all that kind of stuff. And as soon as that happened, I thought, oh my gosh, this is exactly what the Incorrigible party of druids is going to do. This is going to be like their entire goal is going to be to free the animals from this dungeon.
I would beg to offer the opinion that he said he likes his master, and I thought maybe we'd find him alive.
We didn't know he was dead yet.
That's true.
So if I knew we were ending,
he could have just
with
been
a
bored.
murder mystery. Yeah,
It is an interesting
turtle nap.
That's
the guy.
Like there was
thing, though.
Yeah, there was like there's enemies in that room that were just waiting to attack you if you did some like bad things to the room, and you all were very nice and did your own thing. And
I would say most DMs don't run the same thing over multiple times like you got to do in this situation. So I'm wondering if it taints your view of the next parties after you're painting that story, you're putting that story together and painting that picture your first run through, right?
Yeah, you kind of expect it at that point.
So that's interesting because I don't think I've ever ran the same module, for a different group before. So that's a weird.
Yeah, and it was like week after week too. I did like one week, then I did the second week, and then I did your group. And the other main thing that changed was, or that I remember that was really interesting was the one group, my local group. They when they got to the part with the split, they kind of just all went in as a group and just brute forced everything. Like they just killed all the enemies in every room. But my favorite was when they went to the room with the rust monsters. they noticed that like it was not a good idea for them to go in, and so they backed out and like fireballed it from outside, and then just cleaned up whatever was left. And then they found that the key was made of wood.
Oh no!
It was just burnt to a
Whoops.
cinder.
That's awesome.
And luckily, one of them was able to pick locks and was a thief. And so he figured out that he tried to pick the lock initially, but it was like because it was 4 separate keys, he could pick one lock. But then when we went to pick the next, it would relock the first one.
Oh.
But because there was only one key damaged, he was still able to pick one lock and turn the other 3, and it was fine.
Yeah.
But
That's
I
awesome.
thought that was so interesting that they were put in that situation where they're just like, oh, we'll just burn this room. And I'm like, well, the key, I guess, is damaged now.
That's
Sorry.
hilarious.
Well, I mean, Hydracia almost, or Goat Dracia almost ate that wooden gate.
Yeah.
I mean, that
Yeah,
could
that's
have
true.
been bad. I don't think any of us could pick locks.
You kick it,
Yeah.
burn it. Was there any way that we could have figured out who killed him, or was that's just moot point?
No, that was
How dare you?
I know it was
you
kind of
give
my
us a
bad.
problem we can't solve.
It was my bad at the start because the wizard's initial speech just kind of, it was more of a casual mention, like, you know, if you happen to find out who killed me, that'd be great, because it just felt like something he would say. And then you really embraced that part when you found his body. You're like, let's find out who murdered him. And I'm like, I don't know who murdered him, and I don't know that I want to make up more adventure on the spot. Like, this is supposed to sound like the end, but it sounds like it's just the beginning now.
It was definitely a crime of passion.
I love that. I'm going to check the bed.
So check the bed, yeah.
I'm watching a little too much CSI.
Yeah.
We had a few questions, did we not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did.
We sure did.
You answered that one. For everyone, the Druids were very different. How much inspiration did you draw from reading about other characters? Did you discuss your characters when making them to make sure there was variety? This is from Britt.
We touched on
I
a little
think
bit of that, right?
We did.
I think we did, right? Like I
Little
think
bit.
ahead of time we made sure that we didn't all choose the same type of druid.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That was
Yeah.
pretty much
We
it. We
said-
didn't talk
Yeah.
to each
Said
other
what
about
circle
anything
that was
else.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say Hydration was re-influenced by Pyra is what I would say, because originally, like individually, Elena and I guess just looked at Genassis, and I originally wanted to be a water Genassi, and then I changed it to like a half elf or something, like for stats. I was min-maxing, and then I
Yeah.
saw because like Pep mentioned, we had a little pre-one shot to make sure everything in Roll20 was working, and we all got together and had all our tokens in order and that kind of shit. And I changed her back to a water Genasi because Pyra was a fire, and I thought it would be interesting. So yeah, Hydration was a little influenced by Pyra. The final cut of Hydration definitely was, absolutely.
Was it hard for Elena to talk in the voice of Pyra? It was really good, added a lot to the listening experience.
I think we did play for a long time. I think it did hurt my throat a bit, but it was fun. I could do it for short bursts. I think I talked less probably like that. So.
I never understand people's ability to do those kind of voices for a long time. Like, I was in choir and stuff, so I'm used to, you have to like you have to do your voices in certain ways and sing in a certain way so that you don't strain your throat. And so I guess you just get used to using the voice in a way that it doesn't hurt as much. But like, again, in one of the other
That's
groups,
like purposefully hurting your voice.
yeah, I know, right? But one of the other groups, one of them played like a barbarian, and he was kind of new to the game, but he was really role playing it. And so every time he walked into a room, he's just like, "I smash in the door!" Like he was screaming the whole time, and like it was entertaining. Yeah, it was entertaining, but man, I'm impressed his voice lasted through the whole night.
Well, Britt, I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad in the chat she's saying it was so good. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, these questions are from Brett too, right?
Yes, those were.
Yeah.
Emma said,
no, Elena, that's Elena's actually going to sound like that in the future, about 30 years from now.
Yeah,
So,
If she doesn't quit smoking, she will.
that's right.
6 packs a day is do it to you.
I don't need to smoke drugs to be dope. You know what I mean?
very nice.
Oh man.
Emma says, her question is, why didn't you save the turtle freaking druids.
Because I already said I literally didn't think this guy was dead, or we all thought we could go back, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it quite connected with us that we were going through portals and there wasn't just something we
Yeah.
could go back
Yeah.
through.
Portal.
Yeah.
Emma.
You don't always think in the moment, but I do love
So
that
meta.
it technically happened the same way twice, because you're like sitting there at the campfire and then you have a thing happen and you just go through the portal and then it's like, oh, but you kind of forgot your campfire. And there's the
Yeah.
same way you got to the end of the little dungeon and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, hey, some more portals. Whoop.
Yeah.
Ooh, a shiny portal. Ooh, a shiny portal.
Everybody loves a portal.
Jess says that was totally awesome. Awesome dungeon crawl, fantastic characters, so much fun to listen to. More compliments, Jess. We need this.
Yes.
She says the
Yes.
pre-recorded wizard was hilarious, but I really wanted him to be alive at the end so the party could glare at him for the shenanigans he put them through for his entertainment.
No, we wanted
That's
him to be
fair.
alive at the end so we could kill him.
She says, Pep, how was hanging out with the Incorrigibles as a DM instead of a guest NPC? I'll stop there and let you answer that before we get to the others.
It was interesting. It's a little bit more of pressure because when you are the guest NPC, it's if anything, it's more on Leland and the other characters to keep me in check. But whenever I'm the DM, it's up to me to keep them in check. So it's definitely a different dynamic. I'm also usually when I DM and just as myself in person, I don't normally curse or I don't usually have quite as much playful ribbing as the group does. So you can even kind of tell when it started off, I feel like I didn't really get into all the ribbing as much. And then by the end, like other half of it, like I was just up there throwing the insults around here and there.
Yeah.
We've corrupted you in 2 episodes.
Yeah. In
Pretty good.
by 2 episodes, he's like repeating Pyra's voice and yelling, "Shalalay!"
Yeah.
I'd say I feel weird about the shillelagh thing because I did it and then no one said anything about it and then I did it again later and I'm like no one's gonna even understand what the reference was to. It's just because
I still don't.
Yeah, whenever I used to play a druid, I played like a little halfling druid, and that's what I did whenever I cast Shillelagh. She was like, Shillelagh! And she just like, went into like combat mode, and so as soon as you cast Shillelagh, I just had to do it. And then we never talked about it, so...
Hey, listen, I didn't get it, but I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
And that is why we have the after party.
That's right.
Did you expect the gelatinous cube to be such a deathly struggle?
It's funny. Gelatinous cubes are one of my like favorite creatures, but it's always an awkward creature because if you see it coming, it's a non-threat.
Mhm.
Like if you're 60 to 70 feet down in a dungeon and you happen to notice it and like pass your perception checks really well, it's really not a threat at all. It can't move fast enough to catch you, and you can just pepper it with arrows or whatever. It's not really immune to all that much. So it shouldn't be a threat, but I was a nasty DM and I set it up in a difficult situation. But the party did something specifically weird that made it bad, where I think it was Leland went in first.
That's right.
And so like Leland went in and triggered the trap essentially that the cube
Drew
now knew
it.
something was in it and was starting to move. And then you like talked for like 10 seconds and then Shaft went in alone basically, and the cube literally came down on top of him.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that isn't what's supposed to happen. It's supposed to happen that like you're walking and then you like maybe hear a noise behind you and you look back and maybe get the spot check or don't. But like you're told to rush whenever you get into the room. Like it's I hope you can run, I hope you can swim. And so you're supposed to kind of move fast. And yeah, you just ended up in a situation where it landed on top of you. So
Well, I had a rope around me or something, right?
yeah, you had the
Yeah.
rope
Yeah,
around
yeah.
you
That's
too.
right.
Yeah.
Basically, worst possible case scenario is comes in and has it land on top of his head.
Yeah.
Hydratia thought she needed a new best friend.
Yeah.
That was so good too when you turned into the goat and like it pushed
Yeah.
you out. You're like,
Splooshed
nope,
them
too
out.
much. Get out.
Oops, yeah.
Instead of us. Yeah.
It's actually funny. Any time I remember using a gelatinous cube, there was always a druid in the party, and the druid always used their shapeshifting to help against the cube in some way. I remember
Wow.
someone was stuck, and they turned into a giant octopus, and
Ooh.
like used like wrapped multiple tentacles around the
Mm.
person to like get a bonus to pull them out.
Huh.
And like it was so smart, and they rolled really well and
Yeah.
everything, and yeah. So
That's cool.
Druids versus the gelatinous cube. I think the gelatinous cube is at a strict disadvantage because you
Yeah.
can do some neat things.
Unless there's
Yeah.
5 druids and they're us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and this whole cube is taking up the whole hallway too. Like,
Oh yeah.
let's say he
But-
walked through on the way back, he would have had to get through it.
That's sort of the power of the gelatinous cube, right? To take up the entire. If it's in a big open area, you just walk around it.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
not
exactly there was a lot of time cut out with John deciding just what he wanted to change into when he was in that cube. Because do you remember that specifically at all, John? Because it seemed like you were going back and forth between there's a few different things. I think you actually mentioned on mic, but like you took some time. Like, what do I want? What's going to help me here?
I don't remember what I was thinking at the time. I probably was trying to look for the best opportunity. I don't. Maybe probably an octopus, but I didn't come up with that.
Yeah, I think I remember you wanted to turn to a spider or something, and then I said, "Oh, just so you know, you're taking acid damage," and then you're like,
Oh,
"Yeah,
that's
right.
right.
I don't really want to turn into something that'll die instantly."
Yeah,
that's what it
that
was.
might have been it.
That would suck.
But yeah, it's funny. I see Ivan in the chat is talking about the ooze situation too, and I think his character that died, something pretty similar happened. Where I think it's just that he took it a little too slow. Like rather than running, he just kind of was walking, and it just walked up behind him and eventually engulfed him, and he didn't know what was happening, kind of thing. And that's really the trouble with the gelatinous cube is. Although it was funny, I believe it was Pyra who noticed what it was and then just decided. It was okay. It's just like, oh, it's like the air's shimmering, and it's just like, I don't know, that's fine. It's weird. It's
This is
hard.
fine.
Yeah. It's always hard when someone describes something to you. It's like, I don't know if this is supposed to sound dangerous or interesting. So
I'm an old lady. I see shiny things all the time. I don't know whether they're real or not. You know.
It's my cataracts.
Yeah,
I'm
I was just gonna say,
hallucinating.
it's just my cataracts.
I gotta go back to the doctor to get my meds straightened out.
I'm a little bit loopy.
I shouldn't have had hydration put them in my little pack for me.
Should I eaten a boot of jerky? I'm a little loopy.
All those mushrooms.
I mean, to be fair, he told us they were old, so that's on us.
Well, that's true. I mean, and Pyra had just been a potted plant and was floating.
I really liked being a potted plant.
That whole interchange with the ring was like the dumbest
Oh, yeah.
thing.
Where you're like, no, I don't
Oh,
want
man.
to, but I do.
Is that
No, we have
Yeah.
more questions.
okay?
Yeah.
Bill, did you wish that you were Falsey as you wandered around the library with all those books?
Yeah, I certainly thought of Falsey when all the books came about, but I had a lot of fun playing Booch. Actually, he was a fun change from Falsey, and I'm glad I probably would have used Fireball on that room and roasted the key.
And roasted the key, yeah.
Yeah,
I do love. I love seeing players that actually can do that. Like you play something for your first time, then you go and you make a new character, and you don't just keep the same traits. Because I know a lot of people they're so obsessed with treasure, they even have a character that's obsessed with treasure. Then they make another character, and they're obsessed with treasure. It's like, well,
Yeah.
yeah.
it's like you gotta shift your personalities around sometime. You can't always be the exact same character.
I want to see Bill play an evil character.
Ooh.
Evil campaigns are hard.
He's always too nice.
Well,
Oh, Falzarin's evil.
Well, guess what I've been doing the whole time.
Deep sigh on immersion.
Well, the thing about evil campaigns is they have the potential to work if the party is not evil to each other.
Yeah,
I think they'd be able to function a lot better that
Yeah.
way.
Right.
You can't be evil to each other, and you can't really be psychotic either. Like if you just walk into a town and start slitting people's throats, that doesn't work. It's not a campaign then. It's just you all living out some creepy fantasy about murdering people. It's got to be something that's evil but isn't so outwardly awful that you're automatically going to have the town guard on you constantly, kind of thing.
yeah.
You
for
know,
sure.
I think in a campaign like that, when a really fleshed out backstory will come the most in handy, especially for the person running the game, because ideally each of those characters would have some maybe just their ulterior, their end goal is something that is evil, and it doesn't have to be like evil as in kill everything in a certain city, but maybe evil, it's just perceived as not good, could potentially be something you could play with like that too.
It's a motivation that other people don't find acceptable.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's a tricky thing. Yeah, because like in real life, just like in D&D, if someone is, quote unquote evil, usually they don't think of themselves as evil. And when you're playing a campaign, it should be the same way. You should feel like whatever you're doing is good enough and that you're right enough that you're not going to be perceived as evil, even if you are. So
justified or warranted.
Yeah, and there's always going to be exceptions. There should probably be one person in the party who is a little bit more on the like Joker style, and the other people have to keep him in check. But generally, if you're all playing that way, it's
the same thing happens on the inverse.
Yeah,
is a good character believes their actions are justified and righteous, for lack of a better term, and you may have a lawful good character that may be too good for the party.
Right.
The party will have to convince them to make some concessions. Yeah. Kind of thing. So, I mean, you can take a lot of the same things and apply, right?
A lawful good character will get you in a lot more trouble than probably a chaotic or lawful evil.
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
I think
lawful
if you're going to...
a cool alignment, I think. Yeah. It's interesting because, again, it's like you have this set of beliefs and, this, code, but it's just not what everybody else would think would be a way to live their life kind of thing.
Well, it's like lawyers. Like I don't actually hate lawyers, but a lot of people would see lawyers as being like lawful evil. Their entire purpose is to do things within the law and to like follow a code. But at the same time, they're doing it for means that aren't necessarily good.
Right.
Yeah, they could know that they're guilty, but that's not their
it's
job,
still their job to get the person off of going to prison, even if they are guilty.
Right.
Yeah. I think if you're going to play either end of that spectrum, you can't be too rigid, or else it's going to hinder the fun of the other people at the table.
I find alignment doesn't matter in a lot of cases. Like, for example, I'm sure each of you had an alignment, but I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
And it didn't come up. It didn't really need to come up.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's given a bit more emphasis than it deserves.
I
think it's like a backstory. It just tries to give you something to play off of, to say, what would your character do in these types of situations? But you don't. It's just like everybody, you don't always do the right thing or the wrong thing all the time.
Yeah, right? It's a roleplay aid, right? I mean, Hydracia's alignment is chaotic sexy. Very clearly, it influenced the way I roleplayed her, because,
Oh, I should have seen that coming.
Take another swig of your tea.
So
Jess has one more thing.
Oh, sorry. Well, Ivan in the chat, though, says the third D&D movie is all about an evil party, and it's actually interesting to watch. I don't believe that.
I didn't know there was a D&D movie.
Any
D&D movie.
The first D&D movie is campy but pretty good. The second is nonsense, and I haven't actually seen the third, so I might go look it up.
Are they recent?
No, they're pretty old. But look up Dungeons and Dragons the movie. It's pretty good. It's a little comedic too, which is kind of fun.
Supposed to be making another one.
Are we talking about Stranger Things? Or?
No, we're not.
Well, what was that recent animated one with like the troll people or whatever?
Onward.
Onward, yeah. A lot of people inspired with that one. Like, if there was to be the epitome of like a D&D movie, like this would be.
It was cute.
It was. I really liked it.
I haven't seen it, so.
I like Chris
enjoyed
Pratt as a voice actor.
Yeah. It's on Disney Plus, right?
Yeah.
That's why I haven't seen it, because Disney Plus.
In the quarantine, we paid the $5 and rented it one night. It was cute.
Oh, okay, that's a good idea.
Yeah, you just get on Google Play.
Yeah, I think it's worth a watch.
Okay.
It was actually the last thing my local group watched before the quarantine. Like, we watched it basically. We found out the night before that quarantine stuff was going to come into place this week on the island.
Yeah.
And it was like the same weekend it came out or something. And we had planned on seeing it, so we said, okay, like, let's go see it anyway, and then that's it. Like, that's the last thing we're gonna do together. So we kind of had a nice little last evening out and had some food, and
I'll see it when the Mandalorian comes back, and then I'll cancel after that.
Oh man,
yeah.
I want more Mandalorian
Agreed.
so
Agreed.
bad.
Oh, this is the way.
I'm
Yeah,
tempted to
yeah.
go back and
it needs more
rewatch The
content. I was
Mandalorian.
so I mean, God, we're tangenting real hard, but man, I was
Plus does need
disappointed
more. It does need
with
more
Disney
content.
Plus. It's garbage because I don't give a fuck about Disney. I don't give a shit about any of that old Disney crap. Not
I can
for
only
me.
get excited about like Lizzie McGuire so much to be like, oh, try, and then be like,
Oh, I love being
But Leland,
you and I, Elena,
I can
being
show
the
you
same
the
age
world.
because like we just loved and grew up with the same shit. And
we grew up in the
Lizzie
same.
McGuire was the shit.
Yeah,
When I
well,
was
and then
growing
my
up.
little sister, who's even younger, right? It's all Hannah Montana stuff.
Yeah, true.
aren't they the same
I was
person?
like, no. God.
How dare you, sir?
How dare you?
Throw
Obviously,
Bill back
they're
in the
twins.
gelatinous cube.
Is that Billy Ray Cyrus's daughter?
Yes. Yeah.
See, Incorrigible Party, bringing together the generations.
Oh, we're live right now, Jonathan. We are live.
Oh,
So
Canto, yeah,
anyway,
Gargoyle
just
is
have
your
one
everywhere.
more
tongues.
thing that she said.
Oh, so
Uh-oh.
sorry.
Oh, she also told me that Booch and Pyro were her favorites. I mean, that's on the record.
Oh yeah,
Okay, she had two more things she said. She said Booch and Pie were her favorites.
Booch is everyone's favorite.
No. Did you guys
Slam.
Oh, dang.
Call
did
the
you
fire
guys
department.
find it easier or more enjoyable to write a short campaign like a one-shot or a big sprawling campaign like a Spara is? Well,
I
Pep
think
wrote
it's-
the one-shot and Leland's
Who was
writing a
talking?
Spara, so
Yeah.
I, you've
I didn't have to
probably
do a lot
done-
of work for either, really.
super
Everyone's
easy
your
for us.
character.
Yeah, really.
Bill just shows up.
Have you made one-shot kind of stuff before, though, Leland?
No, actually, I haven't. I
Oh.
mean, you could call some potential campaigns one-shots because it didn't last very long. But but no, I haven't. And that's actually something that I'm interested in trying. I think it's like, it's obviously a lot of overlap as far as skill sets, but I think it's a specific skill set too, as far as, crafting the whole thing. Because
You got to have a beginning and an end, and you got to
Right.
move it along at a certain pace, right?
Yeah.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
Your end could have no solution to it. He's dead. We don't know why. It is.
I-
what it
you
is.
could do that
Well, if
too.
I've learned
but it's so
anything from that,
frustrating.
is yes, give a mystery. Don't bother solving anything.
Just solve
Just
it.
the
Let him
end.
do a
The end is the
dungeon.
end.
It wouldn't have been as exciting if I just started off and said, "Hey, I'm dead. Come find me."
Yeah,
True.
The best mysteries are
Just
unsolved.
want answers. I
You
just
might have
want
saved the
answers.
turtle that way, though.
That's true. You probably would have saved the
Might have.
turtle.
well, it is always a cliffhanger too, because now that guy's out there, so you can use him for anything now, right?
That's true.
That's true. It's actually interesting because the one shot was more work for me than most campaigns usually end up being. Because when I plan out a campaign, it's more like players are so everywhere. So I plan out kind of what's going to happen and who some of the major players are, but it's so character driven and what they decide to do that I plan almost none of that, and it's almost all just improv on the fly. But with something like a one shot, I feel like it's disingenuous to try to improv it all because you're telling people ahead of time that, oh, I have this one shot planned, let's do it. You're kind of lying to them if you just come in and be like, oh, I have this one shot plan. And by that, I mean, you're going to show up with characters and I'm going to make stuff up on the fly. So yeah, I honestly put more work into this one shot than I put into a campaign that I've run over the course of a year. At least more front loaded work. The campaign over the year, it takes time sometimes to develop a town they're going to walk into or all that. But generally, yeah, so much more you can make up on the fly. But when you custom make your own one shot, I find there's not as much room. It's easier because it's harder because I put it in a dungeon, so you can't really go somewhere else and do different things.
Right.
But yeah, you have the freedom. You can make things up on the fly anyway. Sometimes if you did something, I could be like, it'd be more entertaining if the room did smush rather than stopped part way. I remember somebody asked me that actually after seeing the thing, whether it was actually going to crush you, and I just decided to spare you. And it's like, no, I already pre-recorded it. The wizard only got so far, and he couldn't figure out how to make it actually crush because the gears wouldn't move properly. So he just gave up, and he's like, it'll make them uncomfortable at the very least.
So did you? That's funny. Did you have that part? Did you have any of the three parties that went through that actually found the key before it didn't crush? Did everyone get to the end and think they were going to die? Didn't get to hear
No,
that?
I
was
think
terrified.
they all made it to the end thinking they were gonna die. And that's it is kind of the intent. Like the keys are there. In fact, in the roll 20, I literally had all 3 keys hidden under piles. So if you picked the right piles, you technically would have found them.
Right.
But that
That
being
too is
said,
terrifying.
yeah,
It was effective. I was legitimately scared. I was like, crap, this is bad. We're
You
all gonna
played it
die.
off. You played it off like you were the only one that wasn't though, because you're like, I got a shell. What
I
up?
got a shell. I'll be fine.
I don't think it'd be all that exciting for Pep and I to play out the remainder of the one shot, just the 2 of us.
I'd be fine with it.
I'm here
Tyson
for it.
measured up. She would have been fine.
Fine. I'm skinnier than Booch.
It's
Yeah,
yeah.
that's true.
It's weird too because when you do a one shot, you accept that you can make it more dangerous. So you can put a little bit more thought into like making the traps more deadly and stuff. Because at the end of the day, if they die, it's a one shot. Like you failed to do it. Oh well. But in a campaign, you're trying to tell a story more than kill the players. So
Right.
yeah, you feel a little bit more likely to back off if the players if they try to fight a dragon or something. You'll probably find a way to let them sneak out rather than just making the dragon toast them.
Yeah.
There's no dragons in
level.
our game. Joke's on you.
Oh, yet.
Yeah.
Haven't done that quest yet.
Like a few different characters and one shots die instead of, and if that means Mia gets to live, I would gladly die in one
I
shot.
think you get really attached to like long campaign characters as well. So there's probably, I mean, obviously I'm speaking with 0 experience. I've never DM'd, but
Time to kill Falsey.
no.
I'm trying.
It's his time.
I'm
He's ready.
trying, he says. There's
He's like a cockroach. He will not die.
Cockroach.
you step on me and I just squiggle out from underneath your boot.
And we're just gonna rip off the scabula.
Right. Every time you flick the lights on, falls around, scurries off into some corner.
But yeah, I think there's probably a bit more weight on the DM for like if a character's going to die in a big long arcing campaign that's been going on for a year, you kind of want it to be sort of meaningful, right? And just not like, oh, you I don't
off
know,
the cliff.
slip. Yeah, make an
Chicago
acrobatics check and you roll poorly and fall to your death. And it's like, oh, that's
Yeah.
Your
Most
teammate hits you and gives you 2 failed deaths.
But the trick with a one shot is
That would never happen.
is balancing the timing on killing the players too, right? I
That's
mean, if
true.
they're in a bad situation, it's like a board game, right? You play and somebody gets eliminated and you still have an hour to play, the other person's not going to have a lot of fun. But if you can, you usually ramp up the intensity on a one shot. The closer you get to the end, the more likely are that they're going to die.
yeah.
Right.
In
Yeah.
situations. So
And
Yeah,
you're
but
always
those
dealing with
things-
dice, so there's always luck. And
Right.
the luck
There is,
that's
yeah.
right.
go in. I guess you could say the DM's favor,
The
but
DM
to
mitigates
go
that,
against
right?
you. Yeah.
I got a couple things from Mike. He messaged us twice, once in the middle of the releases and then once at the end. He said in the beginning that he's loving the Pepshot so far, so funny. He thinks the conflict between fire and water is hilarious. Pep's doing a great job as DM. He thinks the recordings of the wizard are interesting twists and was cracking up while driving when Pep first mentioned them before he got into the game. I wonder who those comments were aimed at.
Oh yeah. I'm not going to play it again if you're talking.
Oh,
You were setting the ground rules.
I wasn't.
mean,
You're
wasn't
lawful
doing
evil.
it.
I think all of us have our moments. Some
That is
more
true.
than others.
That is
Some
true.
have a lot of
perhaps,
moments.
but-
He does have a question for Pep. What were the items the party missed? For example, Bill and Elena left some sort of skull in the zombie room. Was this a magic item? And if so, what did it do? Or was it thrown into the description of the room just to make them curious, giving you a chance to attack them with zombies more?
Yes, to both. It was a magic item, but it was also literally there just to tease. It's the same as the scrolls. The scrolls are there in that little dead spot so that you look at it and you think, that spot looks safe and there's an item there. I want to go get it. But it's only safe. It only looks safe because it's poison gas instead of, darts and fire and stuff. So it was the same in that. It's it's kind of that if you go for it, the zombies are going to have time to actually reach you and fight you if you decide to try to run through. So I definitely pointed it out in the moment just as a little like, are you sure you don't want to see what this little shiny skull is? But yeah, it was a magic item. It wasn't anything super excited. It was like you could cast Detect Magic once a day or something via using it. It was like a little eye kind of thing, but there wasn't anything else I don't think that the party missed. It's always a weird topic. I think when we finished the podcast, we had a quick little chat about some of the things that were part of it that maybe you didn't find. Like I remember playing a little extra little audio clip that you actually didn't hear, and I guess anyone listening to the podcast wouldn't have heard either. From like another room that you missed. Well, not really missed, but another room that you didn't visit. And so I always find it interesting because players sometimes will ask after they're done of a campaign or a session, they'll be like, hey, is there anything we missed? And so I always want to answer the same sarcastic thing as a DM, like, if I tell you, you'll just go get it. So I'm not telling you.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, we walked out of this cave. Like, what did we miss? It's like, oh, you missed like a staff of power. It's like, oh, we're going to go back into the cave and get it then? It's like, oh, darn it.
Not if you portaled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you can get back.
But generally, I usually like to try to save ideas for later if I can. Like, if you miss something, I just pretend it never existed. And then the next time you're in a cave or whatever, I just stick that room on the end of the cave as a little bonus. So I always found it weird. I had a DM who would do the opposite. As soon as you were done, he would just go through like note by note. Oh, here's all the stuff you didn't get, and like here's what you should have done here, and here's what you should have done here, and it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's sort of cruel.
Me, I would do that. Yeah.
Well, then influences your play though, so that you're playing like hours in a dungeon, just
searching. Yeah.
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 Which I don't want players doing either. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike finished saying the magic items you described at the end were pretty cool and interesting. Great job with the whole thing. Very entertaining.
Thank you. I'm
thanks,
honestly,
Mike.
Yeah, I'm impressed that Leland left that part at the end because I think finding treasure and loot is interesting, but usually in a campaign it's interesting because you're going to get to use it. But in this case, I gave you the loot, but you didn't get to do anything with it. So it's neat. But
characters exist, right? And they can go anywhere. Who knows?
That's true. They could make another appearance at some point.
Yep.
Yeah, well, we had you on to trick you into letting the five of us play in your game, and two, to showcase some of your creativity, as you are a very creative person. You have a lot of creative pursuits. One thing I did want to ask you, maybe get your opinion on your functionality with like Roll20. So I know you actually made a video on your YouTube channel about it specifically too. Did you not?
Yeah, just a quick little like, this is some of the great stuff about it kind of thing. I really like it. I was really surprised when the pandemic started. At first, I didn't want to do anything role-playing wise because normally we would play in person. And then eventually, I think it was because you had asked me about the one-shot. And so when I started getting that set up and I opened up Roll20 and started playing around with it, the functionality was so easy. And just setting it up was a little bit time consuming for some things, like learning a little bit of how to create some of the things. And I probably did it in a slower way than necessary, but it was really interesting just what you could pull off. Yeah.
Yeah. I enjoy it. I enjoy it too. And actually, I didn't do this the last time we played, but it was just funny. I watched like a YouTube video of like easy tips and tricks using it. Like there's like just with the holding down a whatever key it is, as you're moving tokens, it'll trace a line of the path that you move the token for everybody on Roll20. Like it has a lot of that. It's almost like it's hidden stuff though. Like it's not anywhere up front to show you in your face, but like it makes it really easy for everyone to see where a token moves for attack of opportunities and all that kind of stuff. As for a DM is when they're moving over a specific space that might have triggered a trap, that kind of stuff. Because I find like sometimes you'll just see the token from where it starts and then it will go right to wherever that person moved it, right?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So there's a lot of cool, interesting stuff with it that you can do.
Yeah, and in the thing, I had it set up that everything was hidden and you could slowly reveal more and more.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you can actually have dynamic lighting set up too,
Mhm.
where as you move the characters, it just actually would reveal whatever your lighting area was. I just didn't get around to setting that up, but
Yeah, yeah.
it's really neat. Yeah, I'm excited. They actually have their own little role-playing game that they made called Burn Bright. That's it's kind of like a fantasy space-themed kind of role-playing game, but it's all done through Roll20. So like even when you make your characters, you literally make them in Roll20 via like the little character setup that it has in there, and
Yeah.
it's interesting. If not to like give ideas for the future, but if you're ever interested, we could potentially play through some of that maybe.
That's
Yeah.
cool. I hadn't
Fool
heard
around
of
with
that.
it. Yeah.
That's interesting. I believe that's it for the questions. We could probably wrap her up here, I think, unless everyone has anything else you want to add.
No, I had a great time. I enjoyed playing a new character and going through the dungeon and having the 5 of us all play together.
That was
for
the
the
best
first
Yeah,
time.
it was
part
fun.
for sure. It was so fun
Yeah.
being able to play.
Our
with all.
characters were really fun. That was really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Pep. It was you did a fantastic job DMing, and like John said, it was really nice for us to have an opportunity to all play together as players.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it was a good time DMing. I'm really used to DMing like the people that I know personally in real life. So it's interesting to DM with like a group that you're not quite so used to and see how different people play. And yeah, and you were all a really good group too, because you all played druids, but you all played things differently, and there's a lot of role playing, and everything wasn't just optimal. You didn't just go through every solution the easiest way possible.
That word's not in my dictionary, so
Yeah, we like to
Yeah.
make things difficult.
Very
I'm sorry,
enjoyable.
could you repeat
Yeah.
yourself? What did you say?
Like for example, that first room. I mean, if you had the ability to fly, someone could have easily just like flew over it, and that whole
True.
trap is done. You just fly
That's
over, and
that's
then
a
like
great idea, Pep.
yeah.
I've been saying that he thoroughly enjoyed the one shot, and he'll be checking out our other episodes. So that's great. Thanks. And he's gonna check us out on Twitch. We're gonna be gaming more.
Yeah, we
Yep.
are streaming this live on Twitch, but we're going to do other stuff and we have done other stuff on here, so come back.
Yeah. Denver's played board games for 4.5 hours the other day.
Yeah, 4.5 hours.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
You're always welcome to come on and play some games with us.
Oh, I can't wait to play
Yeah.
Elder Scrolls Online. Bill just
Yeah.
built me my PC, so.
Yeah. Okay, Pep, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you? We do have your handle up on the screen, and handily. Handy for everybody. But please give yourself a plug.
You can find me in my apartment. This is where I am.
I'll pour you a drink of my maple syrup tea.
So Canadian.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter, both under BoardPep. I'm also on YouTube as BoardPep. Do videos, just like reviews of board games, pep talks. Took a break for the last couple weeks, but trying to get back into it. It's always it's been a little weird with the pandemic. It feels like you have all this time in the world and you could be filming more and more, but I don't know. I kind of want to do less, not more. So yeah, but yeah, I find me on Twitter. I post stuff sometimes. Follow me. Maybe I'll follow you back. We'll have fun.
Maybe.
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 Maybe not.
Well, thanks so much for running everything and for coming back for the after party. It's always great to be able to have someone back afterwards as well for just
Yeah,
one
no,
session.
I'd be up for any after party, even if I'm not involved in the episode. Come in and
That's
smile
actually
and nod.
What was your character's name and when your NPC?
Roland Wright.
Roland
Yes,
Wright.
Roland Wright.
He's the guard.
Envision Roland is now working somewhere in Drakal as a bodyguard. So I don't know if that's in Leland's mind, but that's in Shaft's mind. That's what's happening.
No one wants to go into Chef's mind. Trust me.
Or if you want
It's
to
a
secretly
great
come back
choice.
as an assassin and fight the party, I'm up for that too,
Ooh,
Leland.
there we go.
Don't give them ideas.
We have had a lot of folks from the party's past coming back around suddenly. So
There's also 2 different people in the party than when you played with.
true. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
Oh.
I mean,
I'm now
spoiler free for all these people
Paul
like
Zarin.
I'm playing. I'm playing a giant barbarian.
Giant barbarian.
Karen.
He's not the smartest, but he knows how to get things done.
Oh, man.
That is exactly
Yeah.
opposite of Falzard.
Yeah.
Oh, it's funny because it's true. Yes.
Kick her off
Okay,
there, John. Let's sign off.
Kick her off. Okay.
This is our
I've
best
been-
part.
Oh,
Here we
John
go.
and-
Here we go.
Well, wait. Bill's got something.
do we want to? How do we want to end this? Do we want to? I don't know if there's anyone else streaming, or shall we
Well,
just
yes,
end
but
it?
let's do the sign off for the podcast version, and
Righto.
then we can raid after.
No. We gotta do it in the other order.
Well, Pep,
We gotta wait.
Pep, you go first, Pep, and then I'll follow you. So you've been.
He just
Pepping
did. He just
the
plugged
DM.
us up for 5 minutes, for Pete's
I
sake.
don't-
Just
I don't
sign
even- I
off
don't
so we
even
can end
know-
this thing. It's hot in here.
What am I saying?
Okay. Thanks, Pep. I've been John and Shaft and
No, you
Delano.
weren't Shaft. You weren't-
Oh, and Shaft is right there on the screen.
Do
Our
you even
screen.
know what the? Do you know what the wizard's
No,
name? Do you remember
no,
the
on the
wizard's
screen.
name actually?
No.
No.
Did
Did we get one?
I don't
He
think
didn't,
you
have,
said.
he didn't tell us the name.
You
He
never
didn't tell
said
us his name. He didn't tell us his
You
frickin'
did
password.
actually. He said hello
No.
to you. He said hello to you in the first room.
I refuse to believe
I
that.
don't know, man.
No.
It was written on the scrolls. He said, "Hello, my name is Narth."
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I just assumed that was somebody there before us.
Yeah, we
Oh
just
my
thought he
God.
was
Playing
dead
with it.
somewhere. I guess we were right.
Totally didn't get that.
Yeah.
Okay, best sign off feather. Okay, I've been John, Shaft, and Delano.
I've been Emily and Kitsa, whatever. Kaista.
Who the hell knows?
My name's Elena and I play Pyra.
I've been Bill and Booch.
I'm Leland Steele and the chaotic sexy hydration.
And
Happy
I'm
adventuring.
Pep. Oh, I thought I was going to get it.
Oh, God, we
Nailed
can
it.
never get this right. All right.
Nailed it.
Do the happy adventure, Pep.
And I've been Pep the DM and Narth the I messed my voice up there. And Narth the Wizard. Happy adventuring, Incorrigibles.
Fantastic.
Nice.
Who are you wanting to raid?
So, who can we raid?
Yeah, who can we? Thanks,
The
everybody,
only
for
person
joining, too, by
I
the way.
follow
Yeah,
that's on
thanks.
is
Yeah.
Paula.
Thanks, everybody. Paula Deming?
Yeah, she's
We
the
could
only
raid
one that I
Paula.
follow that's on, but
That would be fun. I don't know how to do it.
Paula.
My
Why
screen
start getting
here.
things right? That's right, Super McDad.
Yeah, this is
why
how
start getting things
every
right now?
sign off is. You just hear the edited version.
I see the Incorrigible parties online.
Britt,
We can
are
raid
you
them.
thinking-
Oh, we should read them. I hear they're
And it's
really
a kitty
good.
in the background because that is not a kitty. That is a dog.
It's sort of a dog.
I think
This
you
is a
had
dog.
fun of my name.
Oh, wait, we can still show them the end screen and get the beautiful rendition of the theme music and then raid, right?
Oh no.
I know, man.
Oh, that's fair.
You got that on your end.
Well, one of the mods, if the one of you can do the raid, I'll go to the end. So thanks everyone for joining. Here's our end credit scene, but stick around for the raid.
Are we still live, or can I take my shirt off?
We're
yet?
live,
No,
but you
you-
can take your shirt off.
I do want to thank you for putting that on before we went live, though.
It's,
All right,
it's pretty
I-
hot in here.
Yeah.
Goodbye.